Welcome back to You and I for the Kenai. We're back in the apartment for what appears to be the last time. We are moving out of this space. We'll have a new space soon. And actually, I'm really excited to have our last podcast in this space be a 1 year later with TJ. If you guys haven't listened to TJ's story before, go find it. It's a really good one. And I have a feeling this one's going to be even better. How's it going today, TJ?
Right now I still feel like I'm going through a lot of growth because everything just kind of seems scattered. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And I've had that feeling before, like when I was brand new.
Mm-hmm.
Then I went away and I felt like I was like on this just righteous path of recovery and saving people. And
Yeah.
And then I realized like I was so full of shit.
Mm-hmm.
And then I'm coming back to like just being okay with me,
Right.
Yeah.
Doing what I can, when I can, for who I can.
Yeah.
I think there's that part where you go from maybe wanting to be a little bit of a hero because you're like, I got out of it. I'm capable of helping people.
Exactly what it was.
I got the secret. Like, I figured it out, guys. I can totally help you out. And then you're like, wait a minute. This is who I want to be, but is this really me?
No,
And then you just kind of come into your own self.
Oh, I can beam that out, dude. I can make it. Like, there's a few people that knew I was full of but, people that were close to me. But, like, I can, like, the newcomer or, like, somebody I've never met, I can make them, like, I can manipulate the out of them, have them believe in whatever I want. Like, I'm this perfect specimen of recovery. Like, I'm doing it the best ever.
Right.
Yeah.
But at home at night, dude, I'm alone with myself, and I'm just like, and slowly, but I'm getting okay with me.
Right.
That's good.
Yeah.
And that's another thing too. Is the feedback of getting someone else excited for something, or just for them to see you as a mentor in somewhere that they're just starting, is like a thrilling feeling. To have someone be like, "Oh, really? You're doing this?" and you're just like, "Yeah, I am doing that."
Yeah.
Hey.
The initial feeling of that is great, but then you have a responsibility to live up to that, and it's hard.
And
to live up
you
to
created
that.
an image that you can't even maintain.
Exactly.
And you're like, but I'm actually just a regular person.
Yeah.
Please don't just watch me too closely.
Like, I learned that lesson the hard way. Like, I would go into the house and like I was super brand new, still like 4, 5, 6 months, and like I'd spit hot fire out of the book because I can memorize, the book.
Right.
And then, they would get out of the house and they'd come live over at Diamond Willow where I was living, and they'd see the real me. And not necessarily that much different, but they'd see my flaws and my, character defects.
Right.
And then, like, I think it hurt them to know that, like, this big facade I was putting up wasn't me, and like I'm fallible too. So it's not that I'm saying like they were extremely looking up to me. I'm just saying like they had an idea because it happened to me, of me, and I didn't live up to that. And it's like, who else is lying to me? Because I had the same. There's this other guy, he talked really good, and then when I first came in, I was like, God, this guy knows what he's doing, this guy has it. And then you get out and you see him and in his everyday life, or you talk to him, you realize this guy's this guy was just, so I came under the realization I didn't want to be that person, even though it wasn't to that extent. I didn't want to be somebody's false idol, false hope.
You take that pedestal away like as soon as possible.
Exactly.
It's like, no, trust me, I'm
like, dude, this is me. I'm a mess. But I'm okay, that's what my recovery life is like. It's okay. Like, some days are great and some other days are very challenging, and I don't blow up on the world today, I don't blow the world up today with my challenges.
I think that realism helps though. You people coming in who are new to see that, hey, I'm just a regular dude. I got flaws like everyone else, but we're doing it.
I would much rather be a regular dude than some like preacher sitting on a pedestal that everybody looks up to. I'd rather be more communicable and relatable. Like, sitting next to. I'm just that. In my head, like I said before, I was like big deal, But literally, I'm just that dude that's sitting right next to you.
Right.
You know what I mean? That's all I want to be. I just want to help you where I can, be your friend, whatever it looks like, whatever the future entails. So.
Right, and I think that that experience, you kind of got both sides of it. You saw it, and then you kind of were it. And you're like, whoa,
I think I'm in the middle. Like I saw it, I'm in the middle, and I'm growing through that, and then I'll to whatever else is like I'm supposed to be, whatever
Right.
else God intends for me to be, you know.
Yeah, I think
Hopefully it's soon because this is driving me nuts.
Can appreciate that. Yeah.
I think one of the ways you could notice that if you were, starting down that path is the more you feel inclined to hide your mistakes from the people around you, the less free you are to live as an individual.
Yeah.
Because you go home at the end of the night and you're like, I'm not a real person.
Yeah.
Like, if anyone knew me, they'd hate me.
Because you're still lying.
So much.
Yeah.
You might not be lying with your words, but you're lying with your actions, you know?
Yeah. And you gotta, they don't need to see that. And it's just like, just be genuine and you can have such a more full life, I think.
Right. Yeah. No, there's a line from a song that I really like that like reminds me of this, and it's like because every time I hear it, this is what it reminds me of, and it's a really simple line, but I think it's like kind of true and kind of powerful in a lot of ways, you know. And all it says is like, "What's done in the dark will find a way to shine."
Oh yeah.
Yeah, and even just in your like you're saying, like in your subtleties and like your interactions, even with yourself, you know what I mean? Like very brightly, you know, like. It's because when you start not living the life you're like professing to live in, you know, like you can only do that for so long until people start to see you through for who you are.
It's a thing. Like if I can see it in other people, then other people can see it in me.
Yeah,
you know?
definitely.
Like, people are watching even when you think they're not. You know, people are. So, I don't know what people think. You know, I have no idea. Like right now, you could be thinking like I have an idea in my brain what you might be thinking, but like you might be thinking something completely different, or vice versa. Like this guy doesn't care anything about me. Like I'm not a role model for this guy, but he could be looking up to me, and and if I'm just being a complete ingenuine, then eventually it's gonna let him down, and that's on me. You know what I mean? So to be genuine is something I strive after.
I feel like that's tough as a mentor too, because you have to realize that people are looking up to you, but you don't want to turn them away by something that you do or say. And people are so fickle that you don't know what you're going to say that's going to affect them because they don't tell you. You know,
exactly.
Communication is so huge.
Exactly. You know, and then it's happened quite a few times. Not in the same way, but you know, I had my sponsor and then my sponsor and his sponsor, you know, and I held all these guys in high regard, right? Like infallible human beings of, you know, this universe. But then you get to know them, and it wasn't like something like my heart was broken or anything. They're just regular people. They're just they know a lot about recovery, you know. Well, most of them do. But to see them as regular people, it's kind of like, oh man, really? They're not gods of this universe.
So, and I think part of that, dude, comes from like, at least myself too, you know, and I think a lot of people, like, we kind of strive either to be leaders or to be led well, you know, and like, and when we don't know enough, and when we know we don't know enough to be leaders, we want, even in our own imaginations or perceptions, to really believe that the people leading us know what they're doing. Yeah. Because it reflects in ourselves of who we trusted. You know what I mean? Exactly. If we trust somebody that's kind of a douche, we put a lot of faith in that person, and then we feel stupid when they let us down. You know what I mean? Yeah, agreed. And so going about that in a way, like when you're, because I struggle with this stuff too, you know, like in coaching like young kids and athletes, you know, like, man, does the way I talk or the way, you know, I like enter this room or all these little things, you know, like, man, I have to really be pretty honest and be pretty much about it. Otherwise, like you said, man, like people are going to see through it, and we're going to end up making people feel in ways kind of bad about me and kind of bad about themselves, you know? And so, like, I think it is, like, we really do, because I have, like, a very similar experiences, you know, with people that you really look up to. Yeah. And then, like, I don't know, and just in different ways, man. And then you, like, see them in different situations, you're like, that's not very cool, you know? Like,
well, no, it wasn't even that. It wasn't, like, it's not very cool. Like, with my sponsor, his sponsor, and his sponsor. It was more of just, I wasn't let down. It was just more of my perspective changed, and I wasn't ready for it. Like, I don't know, it wasn't a sad feeling, but it was kind of like the air let out of my head a little bit, you know? And I'm just kind of like, oh, these are real people too, you know? Right. Because, like you were saying, I think most people, even leaders, want to be led sometimes. You know? You know, and then when you hold somebody, what you're saying, in high standard, and they say you're doing good, you know, you're doing something good, I strive for that. Like in football, like my coach, like he was a hard, you know.
Right.
And anytime he said you're doing good, it was like a big deal.
Mm-hmm.
Oh yeah.
And because I don't know, my brain works weird, dude. Like it's just they're infallible human beings. Like they have their together, they know what's going on, and they realize they're just human beings. Like there's something that just takes the wind out of yourselves. You know what I mean?
Oh yeah.
But it's not horrible. Don't get me wrong. It's not like a bad thing. It's just coming to terms with your reality.
Yeah.
I think a part of you wants to reach that level that you perceive them at, you know?
Yeah.
Like, once I have it together like them,
Yeah.
I'll have it all figured out.
Mm-hmm.
It'll get easier. I'll be better at this and this.
Right.
And really, they're just, if they're in that position, it's probably because they're good at recovery, which doesn't mean they're good at anything else. I mean, not anything else. Everything else.
Yeah.
But they're good at that one aspect. And I think to see that is almost kind of like you said, letting the air out, because you're like, I thought I was going to get there. And it was going to get easier. But I'm still me.
That's a good point.
This is how twisted I am, though. Like, I don't want it when I am there. You know what I mean? I don't want the responsibility of it when I want it, but I don't want it at the same time. Like,
I want the recognition. Not the responsibility.
Yeah.
I feel that.
Yeah, it's weird, dude. It's weird how it works. Like, I don't know, like you got guys asking you to sponsor them and whatnot, and you know, part of me is like scared. I don't want to them up, but I know I can't them up. Just,
right.
You know, do what I was taught and just go from there. But on the other hand, like it's another responsibility, and I got so much responsibility on the plate. I'm doing so much.
Oh yeah.
And then part of me is just like, oh, I don't want to do it, but the other part of me is like, but I do. And another part of me is like, I want to get better. So until like it tells us, you know, working with newcomers and the still suffering alcoholics, one way to stay sober. So that's another reason why I want to do it. But then, you know, I still got that alcoholic and addict thinking, like, do I really need to do it? Am I really that bad? I'm almost 2 years clean and sober. Do I really need it?
Right.
Just so much going on in the brain, dude. It's just like conflicting ideas, you know. And most of the time, the positive ones went out, but sometimes, you know.
Well, and you wanted all the work. Like, you want to still be able to do the things that you want to do.
Yeah.
But also help other people out. And there's that initial energy when someone asks you. Because I feel like that'd be an honor, you know, to be someone's sponsor. You're just like, oh, really? Yeah, thanks, man.
Yeah.
Also, I can't do that.
Yeah.
That's a hard thing to follow up with. It's like, I love that. Also,
it's a responsibility to take them through, you know, the steps. And if I'm slacking on that, then I'm not being a good sponsor. So my best thing is like I talked to a sponsor today. I got the COVID and was sick, and I've been working a lot, and he actually found another sponsor. I said, that's awesome, dude. I'm glad you found somebody else. And I actually apologized to him for not being there for him because, you know, everything that was going on. You know, it's the 9th step, make amends. Or the 10th step, when we were wrong, we promptly admit it. So that was my opportunity to admit that I was wrong.
nice, yeah.
And, you know, and I'm happy for him. He's got actually somebody that's got a lot of time retired, you know. Good dude. So that's awesome. It works for him. But, you know, on the same token, I'm still like, oh, man, I don't have anybody to work with now.
Right. Yeah.
But on the same other side of the token is like, oh, well, good. I don't have anybody. Like, I don't have that.
Right.
No, it's like that's me as an alcoholic. Like, I can't. I have conflicting ideas in my head all the time.
You love the concept, but the execution comes around. It's like,
the actual. Even though I do it, like I got a good track record of doing it.
Oh sure, yeah.
There's times where I don't even want to be there, and that sucks to say. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's like I always I want that feeling of always wanting to have, but there's like I get in to doing step work, and I'm just like, man, I got other I could do.
Right.
And like that's how I know I'm still sick, and that's how I still know I need this program and to do the work.
Right.
You know? Because if I let that linger on long enough, it'll come back, and it'll, you know, leach into other things in my life, and then pretty soon it's like life's not good enough. I'm depressed. I know how to take care of it. Might as well get
Yeah.
you know. Or just one time, like let's take the stress away for just one day, you know.
Oh man.
And then I wake up the next day, I'm like, well, like if I did it yesterday, I might as well just do it today, you know.
Yeah.
Oh man.
I can never get a little anything.
No.
Like, if I'm doing something, I'm doing it to like the full extent. Even, you know, early recovery, like I was going hard, dude. I was like. I was listening and like, reciting things I heard and stuff out of the book, you know, being manipulative, like I was saying, and, like just trying to be a big shot, you know, be the best that ever did it.
Yeah.
And it was my thing to get away from reality.
Right.
I used recovery as a negative.
Mm-hmm.
You know, that's what an alcoholic is, dude. I mean, if you've never met, like, I know you've met plenty of addicts and alcoholics, but a lot of people have this preconceived notion, and I'm sure you guys know the difference now since you've been doing this long enough, that drinking or using is the problem.
Right.
And it's not. It's not.
Mm-hmm.
It's what goes on up here and what goes on in here. That's the antithesis of the problem.
Right.
I feel like it just kind of shows that if you have that, either you haven't learned the coping skills necessary, or you haven't learned how to suffer well, which is a difficult part.
Yeah.
You know, that life is going to have things that suck, and if you take it personally, it's not going to go as well as it could. If I think you were talking about this earlier, that if you kind of take a step back and be like, okay, but is this about me?
Yeah.
Right.
And kind of reassessing that.
Everything's about me, man. But yeah, dude, like, I mean, I was saying it in between the lines, but alcoholic and drugs were just the solution to the problem.
Right.
It was, you know, stress, anxiety, depression, feeling anything, you know, whether it be happy or sad, you know, just trying to escape reality, escape my problems. And, you know, I'd always wake up with the same problem, and that was me.
Yeah.
Go no matter where you go, there you are.
Exactly.
Right.
It makes you wonder. It makes me wonder, at least, is like how many people are out there who have these poor coping mechanisms, but they just aren't the ones that we see as destructive as other ones.
Yeah.
Like how many people don't go through a step process that would be super helpful of their own. Much like, who was it, Zach was saying he wished everyone went through the steps at one point just that they would understand what's going on. Mm-hmm. But it makes you wonder how many people, even our listeners, who maybe go through similar stuff and don't struggle with maybe the addiction aspect as much, but still find ways to escape their own life.
Right.
There's a lot of ways to escape your own life. You know?
So true.
It doesn't necessarily have to be a substance. It could be women.
Right.
A prime example.
Mm-hmm.
There's a lot of guys out there that do this. You know, they, I don't know. I was raised like the more, you know, women like you, the better, the cooler you are, the better you are.
Yeah.
You know?
Right.
So if I can get as many as possible in the short amount of time as possible, then I'm the coolest guy in the room.
Yeah.
And then it's not even the act of like sexual relations. It's the hunt. It's the, I don't want to say hunt because it just sounds. But that's what it is. It's like when I was growing up in high school and stuff.
It's the game.
Yeah, it's the game.
Yeah.
You know, you're so caught up in that game of like manipulative behavior. Like, you know, I'm sure you know, like if you're mean or like a dick, they like you more.
Right.
You know, and then you're playing this game, and then like nothing else matters. You know,
it is extremely addicting. I know what you're saying. Like, once you get involved, it's like once those wheels start spinning, you're just like, I can't control it.
Yeah,
but you can.
The saddest part about that is like you lose all aspect of humanity. Like you don't see them as human beings.
Objectify that
like
kind of deal.
They're a thing that I am trying to conquer. Like I'm a conqueror of women. You know, I'm cool.
Right.
I'm cool. People like me.
Mm-hmm.
Not really. I mean, if you really stop and like, if you look at somebody else that's doing that, like how you feel about them, cool, they get girls, but they're probably a dick in real life. Do I really want to be friends with that?
Right.
No, I want to be friends with them because that's what society said I should be. And like our society, I'm talking about like high school society.
Right.
I should be cool or friends with that guy because he's a cool guy because he gets the most girls. But in reality, he's a dick, and you know, it's weird. It's a cycle that, like, just a negative cycle that's never ending.
So it's like that searching for meaning, for importance, that everything's going to be worth it somehow.
Yeah.
You know, and you keep looking in all these wrong places and you just come up empty and you're like, I'm trying to be the best. Yeah. And why do I feel so, like, when you go home and you're alone and it's 2 a.m. and you're just sitting on the bed like...
Empty?
Yeah.
What is my life? Why am I even here?
Yeah.
Right.
And that's the part that I think that's where it goes to escape, because you're like, I can't feel this way because what's going to keep me going?
Well, I mean, look at the world and the state it is now. Like, people have a fundamental trouble with accepting who they are. Mm-hmm. You know, they're always trying to jump on some bandwagon and some reason, some bigger thing to be better than themselves. You know, and I think once I can, this is something I'm working on, and just accepting who I am for who I am, and being okay with that, I'll be okay.
Right.
But I always want more, or something better, like better job, better car, better girlfriend. No.
We'll cut that part out. I promise.
Like, no, you can leave that in. But that's a reality. Like, sometimes that thought creeps in, you know?
Right, yeah.
I'd be a liar if I said it didn't, you know? But that's just my alcoholic and addict behavior. It's like I need something to get out of myself, and it's always, the next thing is always better, you know?
Yeah. Right. And I think that's part of it, is like, it keeps adding on to itself, and that's kind of that mindset. It's like, more is better.
Yeah.
More is better. And like,
it's not, it's just more.
No. Or new, dude.
Yeah. New,
I mean,
yeah.
Not even necessarily more, just
I just had
different
this
or
thought
new.
today. That's funny that you bring it up. There's this package that came in from Amazon. I didn't order anything. Somebody actually sent us a gift for our kids.
Oh,
cool.
And the package came in, and it was like the package. That was the best part of the gift, right? Like, what's in this thing, you know? And then you open it up, and then you got it. It's another thing,
Right.
but it's the thought of what is it, or what can it do, or, you know, and then the reality that it's just a thing.
Right.
You know? That's I think that's the drug, you know. That's the what, like the wondering, you know.
yeah. It's interesting. It's like, there's the fear of the unknown, but there's also the thrill of the unknown.
Exactly.
It's like, well, what would happen if I totally blew my life apart by making this one decision?
Oh yeah.
You're just like, well, let's find out. But then you
Or-
pay for it for the next 5 years.
Yeah.
Longer.
Seriously.
It's a slippery slope, that whole, you know, blowing your life thing up, dude. Like, because once you start, you already went this far, you might as well keep going.
Got nothing to lose.
Right.
Yeah,
You're not going to get more to lose.
Yeah, it's that self-sabotage, dude. It's a killer. It literally is the biggest killer, I think, of anybody that's come into recovery and left. Because I went this far, I might as well go all the way.
How do you personally deal with that? Like, what's your like strategy?
I pray for one thing, and then I remember, like, I am not my last action. I just because I did one thing doesn't make me fundamentally who I am.
Right.
You know, I can do the best I can to make amends for that, or fix that, or, you know, just let it be. Just let it be a part of my life and move on from there and try and do better next time.
Right.
Because if I get stuck on one thing that I mess, like, it'll ruin my whole day. Like, I'll just give you a work example. Like, I forgot to tax somebody for an item, like put tax on it.
Yeah.
And I could have let that ruin my whole day, you know?
Yeah.
Because I get stuck on things I do wrong, not things I do right. You know, I
Yeah.
take more thought into things that I did wrong than more pride in the things I do right. It's weird.
Yeah.
No, I mean,
But it only
it's
took
relatable.
it only took about 5 minutes of my brain space, you know?
Right.
Right.
You know, and I just moved on.
Yeah. Is
Now-
that something that, like, part of the process, like that ability to, like, realize, feel, move on, you know, is that something that's, like, that's progressed for you in, like, the last year since early recovery?
It's not something I had before.
Yeah.
It was, I can tell you what I would have done before. It's like, doesn't matter. I already fucked up, so doesn't matter what I do now, you know, I might as well keep going.
Yeah.
You know, it doesn't matter.
Yeah.
You know, you just drop the grenade.
So you care so much that your response has to be apathy, so you don't self-destruct.
Yeah.
Like, all right, fine.
Yeah, and it's a catch-22, dude. Like, before, it was like, I care so much. I cared about, like, messing up before, but I didn't at the same time. Like, I cared enough to blow it more up, you know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
Yeah.
oh, I messed up and people are going to think negatively of me. I might as well just go
Give
all
them
the
a
way.
reason.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Just let's do it again, you know, and go further. Do better.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, and so the last time we recorded, I just saw, or when we released your previous podcast, was September 24th of 2019. So lots obviously changed since then.
Got another kid.
Yeah, another one.
Congratulations.
Yeah.
Another
months
one.
old.
Yeah.
Yeah, one was easy, dude. 2 is not so easy.
Right. Yeah, so how has that, I mean, experience been within, like, a recovery perspective? Like within your recovery, how was that?
It's challenging.
Yeah.
It's very challenging.
Right.
I'm not gonna lie. I mean, there's great moments in it. There's mostly great moments in it, but right when she was born, like right after she was born, I developed anxiety like an anxiety disorder, and couldn't figure out what was wrong with me. It actually happened last year around the same time, for about 4 months, and I'm just actually starting to come out of it now. So,
Right.
but it was just this like cloudy-headed, deep-seated like worthlessness. Like I will never live up to this child, or you know, or my other kid, or you know, my girlfriend's idea of me, and it's just from how far I come, and to hit that brick wall and to like be in that mind space for so long is like, it's physically and mentally depressing. Like I was tired all the time. I didn't want to do anything. I'm just starting to get my energy back and my mental faculties back. But it's something that came with like having a child. I didn't want it. I wanted the furthest thing from it. You know, I wanted to be happy and grateful and all that stuff, but it just didn't happen for me right away.
Right.
You know, but more and more, like I get used to it, and I'm super grateful. I wouldn't change it. I would not change it. Even if I had to go through that again, I would not change it. You know what I mean? It's my daughter. I love my daughter. You know, it took a minute. Like it took a minute for reality to hit in that I had another kid. You know, I just got used to having this son. You know, who's a year and a half old, and that I unconditionally love. Then I have another one, and then like it just seemed like it's detached from reality. Like I couldn't wrap my head around having a daughter, another kid, right? And to see her as a person and as a human being, it sucks to say, it kind of hurts my heart to say, it took a little bit, you know, but I wouldn't change it. I'm glad I grew, you know, through it, and I'm growing through it, and it just makes me a better person, I think.
And you can't control your feelings. I mean, you can control what you do with them, but those things that you're feeling, I wish I could say this 100 times for anybody who needs to hear this, but feeling something isn't wrong.
No,
like, everyone is gonna get feelings that they don't want.
But in that moment, it feels wrong.
Oh, absolutely.
Your brain will tell you that it's wrong.
And even maybe reflecting on it, you're just like, oh, you know, you get that kind of like the cringe of just like, oh, why was I like that? But that's the thing is you didn't have that choice. I mean, now how you deal with it, obviously. You know,
I'm for the most part, I dealt with it really well.
Right.
There was some days where I got angry. You know, I didn't lash. Well, I lashed out. Me and my girlfriend got into arguments. You know, I said some things I didn't mean, but I always apologized for it. And I hated like when it would happen the next day, and I'd have to apologize. Not have to, but apologize again. It just seemed like I'm just doing the same thing over and over again, just apologizing for it. So that makes it okay. Which that's not what it felt like, because when I was in it, when I was doing it, like I just had lost control. And then I felt bad about it. I genuinely felt bad about it. That's why I was apologizing for it. But it would just take control the next day. And like, I couldn't like all the things I've been taught. Like I couldn't use them to rein it in. And
that's got to be extra frustrating because that's something you focused on before too, wasn't it? Yeah. And so I can.
It was anger. Yeah, I had a big problem with anger, and then it just kind of, crept back up, and I like. In the moment, like, there's some moments I didn't want to get out of it. Like, I wanted to be angry. Like, at least I felt something.
Yeah,
you know?
And it's probably a comfortable space having been, like, and especially when you haven't been in that space mentally for, like, a long time and for good reason.
Yeah. It's
like, you have, like, once you get back to experiencing it, it's almost like that rush of, like, again. You know what I mean? Like,
this is comfortable for me.
And you're so tired of being depressed. So tired of it. It's just like something else. And then, at least I feel like I have energy.
Yeah. This is the crazy part. And when I started coming out of the depression and the anxiety, it still crops up from time to time, like, but short times, like an hour, maybe 3 hours. The depression or the anxiety or the cloudy-headedness.
Right.
But then I'd be happy, and then I would feel like I didn't deserve to be happy. You know, I feel like, or it's gonna come back anyway, so I might as well like just not even pay attention to be in the moment. Because it's gonna come back. It's crazy. It's crazy. Like and it drives me absolutely insane. Like I just want to be okay. Like in the moment, okay. Like be grateful for feeling okay in that moment, and not worried about what's gonna happen or feeling unworthy of happiness in general.
Do you think that having another kid to that kind of I mean, I feel like personally if I had 2 kids it'd be overwhelming, but that loss, maybe like a sense of a loss of control? Did you feel that at all?
Yeah.
Just like everything's just kind of spinning.
And then I also have a sense of feeling trapped.
Oh, yeah, dude. I totally relate.
Not so much anymore, but like any aspirations or any like ideas, even though like they may never have come to fruition, or like obviously they didn't come to fruition, but things like I probably would have never done. But just the idea of me being able to do them was some sort of like
you can't be a professional hockey player.
I was about to say, now I can't be president.
Right.
Oh my gosh! But it's so real. Like it's such a real feeling.
Yeah, it's weird. It's like I am this now. This is who I am now. I have to take care of these kids, and I'm always gonna have to take care of these kids.
Right.
But what if I don't want to? Like I can't go do something else, or I could, and I'd be a really big piece of doing that. Right.
Yeah.
But it's so like, in the reality of the situation is it is okay. I'm not the center of my attention anymore. You know what I mean? When my kids are around, they're my center of attention. So I have to focus on giving them the best life possible.
Right.
So it's not all about me anymore, and that's kind of disheartening too. Like I only had to take care of myself. Now I got to take care of I could better myself, so I have to better somebody else or try and help somebody better themselves now.
I want to be the player, not the coach.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly. That's exactly what it is.
Completely understand.
I want and they have their whole life ahead of them, and they have experiences that I'm gonna be jealous of, and like they're gonna do things that I wish I could do at that moment in time,
Right.
But it's okay. Like everybody has their chance to everybody has growing up. They have that they're gonna go through things and they're gonna do cool things. And my time growing up in that going to a dance for the first time, going to prom, playing football, all that stuff is past.
Right.
And part of my brain's like, oh, but has it really?
It's like, ow, no.
I think that's pretty common for a lot of people, especially when you start having kids.
Yeah.
And it's like, oh, man, because I can appreciate that for sure, man. Like, because even I'm going to bring up coaching again because that's just kind of what I've been doing and reflecting on the last few weeks. But, even I go in sometimes and I'm like, and I just walk in there, man, and I'm like, I'm still by far the best person in this room. You know what I mean? Just you feel good some days. Walk in there feeling a little hyped every once in a while.
I just want that. I want the experience again, like being able to play, going in the locker room, getting ready for a game.
Yeah.
I want that. I want the accolade of winning that game and being the center of people's attention.
Yeah.
And I know that I'm not going to have that in that aspect anymore. It's kind of strange in itself, but they deserve the same right to have those experiences as I did when I was growing up. So who am I? I'm gonna try and diminish that because I'm being selfish and self-centered. That's just things that go on in my brain.
Yeah.
I think people who don't move past that or don't even recognize it, honestly, because that's again the first step is understanding that's happening. Some people will try to live out their dreams vicariously through their children.
I don't want to be that guy.
That's scary.
I don't want to be that guy.
Yeah, exactly, right? I don't either.
They're going to be, I'm going to let them be who they want to be.
That's awesome. Yeah.
When I was growing up, big baggy pants were in fashion and stuff like that, and the parted hair down the middle, shoulder length.
Yeah.
And I always wanted that, and my mom and my stepdad would never let me have that. I'm like, I don't get it. Why? I don't care what he does. He can wear whatever he wants. If he wants to wear a dress, he can wear a dress, when he comes to a certain age.
Right.
Just as long as it's, because it's a lot of figuring things out when you're growing up, trying to, fit in, relate.
Right.
And to take that away from somebody, to where they feel comfortable, I think is wrong.
Yeah.
So,
and
they can love, I'm going to say this right now, they can love whoever they want to. I don't care as long as they're happy.
Right. Yeah.
I think
I'm not going to be that dad that's no.
Right.
But don't get me wrong, I'm not going to give them hormones when they're 4 years old because they want it. They want to make the decision after they're 18. Go for it. You do you.
Right.
Yeah.
I'm not going to stop you. If you think that's who you are, if that's going to make you happy, then I'm all about it. And that's goes for anybody.
Yeah.
Anybody living in this world, I don't care what you want to do. Whatever makes you happy, by far, who am I to stand there and judge you?
I mean, there's so much hate in the world. Like,
I don't understand it.
Might as well let go of a few things.
Yeah, I don't understand the hate that's going on in the world right now.
Right.
I don't.
Has this recovery process kind of sparked a lot of this, like, because where I'm kind of, it's cool to hear this conversation, because
yeah, it has.
It's like the beginning when we talk to people, especially in early recovery, or even people that have had, a year or two or whatever, is like one of our questions we ask is, when did it become less about, like, because especially in early recovery, like that first year specifically, for a lot of people is like step 1, don't do drugs. Step 2, we'll figure the rest out. When that's kind of not the thing anymore. And just from this conversation, it sounds like, not that it does, like, because I think for everybody, like, especially who have gone through it and pretty heavy, those thoughts aren't just like not gonna ever be there ever again for the rest of your life. You know what I mean?
The thoughts?
Yeah.
They're there a lot.
Right.
They happen a lot.
But I don't think, like, you got a couple kids, you got, your job, all these responsibilities now, and all these other, like, your personal growth things you're thinking about. It just doesn't sound like that's priority. That, like, holding that space for your thoughts is ultimate priority number 1 thing to think about anymore. You know what I mean? That's not like your sole goal anymore. It's
what do you mean?
He's
not to use drugs?
At some point, you transition from recovery of, okay, I'm just not going to use, and that's my main goal. And at some point, you have to live the rest of your life, kind of.
Yeah. My goal today is to figure out how to live life on life's terms.
Right.
It's not using. Like, that's not even though the thoughts crop in every once in a while.
Right.
I have this thing where I play the tape forward, and I know what's going to happen. So that takes care of it pretty much instantly. I'll pray about it and ask for it to remove. But my recovery is based on living the best life I can. Right. It's not using. That's what it is when I first started. Like, how do I not use drugs? Yeah. And not use drink alcohol? How do I not do that? Right. Today it's like not catching up, but just learning how to live life. Like, people grow up and they learn how to live life,
Right.
And now it's like I'm almost 35 years old and I'm just learning how to live life, and be a good person.
Where do you feel like you really turned the corner there? Like, where do you? Maybe it was really gradual, but like
I feel like I am just like I'm in the midst of turning a corner. You know what I mean? Yeah. I'm not on the other side of the road yet, but I'm getting there. Right. Okay. Because it's like it's confusing. It's in a realm of being confusing. Life is confusing to me right now. Because I thought I had it all figured out before. Like, this is what I'm gonna do. I'm gonna do recovery, and I'm gonna, do other stuff when it crops up. But now I got recovery. I got kids. I got a job. I got bills. Yeah. I gotta try and be a good person. I gotta be, trying to help somebody else, and it's just confusing to get that all to. I hate to say line up because it's never going to line up, but just to make sense, just to feel natural. You know what I mean?
To feel secure.
Yeah, just be comfortable. I feel like I'm always like in a rush to do something. In a rush to go to work, or in a rush to. And when I'm at work, it's what am I doing after work? Like, I got to get there at this time, and it's always in the back of my head. Like, I'm doing this and I'm doing this and I got to do this.
Then all of a sudden it's December, and
exactly.
What the heck?
I just want to be in this where I'm at, and okay with where I'm at that particular moment. Right. Yeah. Like, if I'm at work, I want to be just fine with being at work. Not worrying about what's going on after work, or what happened the day before. I just want to be okay with being in that, that place at that moment. Yeah. So, like, now I'm thinking, like, when I go home, I got to do this, it's always kind of playing. So, and it'll go away. I've talked to people, and they say it takes a little while, but it'll go away. Right. And, frankly, my brain's still healing, too. I put it through a lot of abuse, and it's still rewiring itself. And, frontal cortex is still coming on, and it's going to take a little while. Yeah. And I'm okay with that.
Now, I know you mentioned, like, being in the present moment. Has that helped with kind of the grind of life? Because I feel like I relate with you in the sense that I love things that are like new and fresh and stuff, and if I do the same thing for more than 2 or 3 weeks, I'm starting like, it's kind of lost its freshness. Like, how do you avoid getting, I guess, burnout by the grind? Because recovery kind of is a grind. I mean, it starts out super passionate, but
I was in the mindset of, when I was in early recovery, is and this is what you should do, I think, because it builds a habit. So go to as many meetings as possible. Go to 2-3 times a day if need be, and do as much as you can recovery related as possible at the beginning. Now, I've been doing it for so long now. Like, you tend to get burnt out with people and meetings and stuff like that. So I've learned to take some breaks. I don't go to a meeting every day anymore, or 2 meetings every day anymore. I go to 1 to 2 a week. I still talk to people regularly. I have to take breaks from certain aspects of my life. You know what I mean? Like, I'll take a break from meetings for a couple of days, and then, I'll take, on my days off from work, I'll take a break from work, try and leave work at work, and then when I'm at work, I'll take a break from I'm not taking, not forgetting I have a home life, but I take a break from the kids and the stresses of that, and that's, I'm learning you can take breaks from other things, doing other things, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
It doesn't always have to be, like, a break from everything.
Right.
I need to go on a vacation to, the Bahamas or whatever, so I can get away from. No, I take little breaks where I can find them.
Right.
And you'll never escape from everything. I mean, you
never.
go to the Bahamas, and then you got to get a rental car. And
Probably eventually.
Probably bring my kids,
Right.
probably.
In worst case scenario, you may eventually have to come back.
Oh my god,
That's scary.
No, but I mean, in all reality, even though I don't think it sometimes, it's all good. It's all okay. Things happen, life happens, but it's all okay. Like. Nobody has a permanent ticket to this world, right? So we do the best we can with what we got. And to be able to live in that moment and to be grateful for the things that we do have is something that I strive for. And that's where I'm at today with my recovery. It's not, trying to be the best that ever did it, trying to be looked up to by everybody. It's just being okay with me. And that's what recovery is about, ultimately. It's not what other people think of you. It's how you feel about you.
I think that's like one of those larger life things, because I think a lot of us spend, especially in our younger years, because like you said, being young is a lot of just figuring out who you are and where you're supposed to be and, where you fit in the world, know? And I think, like, as we get older, that's like one of them, at least I don't know if it's necessarily even like a thing, right? But in my opinion, I guess more than anything else, like, that's one of the big things of, like, being in that next stage of life is, like, okay, I figured out who I am for the most part. Now, you either got to ask that question or get to that point to where you're like, am I cool with who I am? And, like, the stage of life is becoming a version of yourself that you're pretty chill with, that you like, And I think that's harder when you've been through addiction. You know what I mean? Because you're so wired to really not like yourself that much or feel at all, especially like when we consider stigma and stuff like that. Like, you intrinsically already probably don't feel very awesome about yourself sometimes.
No, absolutely not.
Because like we said, like, where that's coming from, I think, is from that same idea of the use is more of a symptom of all these other things that are going on, right? And so, like, a lot of that stuff that's going on, you probably don't feel so awesome about. You're engaging these behaviors that you might not feel super great about. And then the larger picture is being like, yeah, man, you're a junkie, or like, this is a you thing, you're terrible, So all that kind of feels like it's crumbling on, and so you're like, it's just pretty ingrained to not really like yourself that much, And so coming out of that, it's cool to see, like, that transition period to where, like, it really sounds, man, like you're putting together a life that, like, you really enjoy, and that, like, you're existing in it, and, like,
I'm
starting
trying
to become
right. Definitely trying to. I'm trying. Like I said, it's weird. Like, I do things, but to be able to accept them and be happy about them is what I struggle with. I do sometimes. I just do things because I know that's what I'm supposed to do.
Right.
Yeah.
So I don't know. It's weird, dude. It's a weird life. Life is weird. Like, to be able to experience and, like, I got so many questions about life, but but I don't need to know the answer to it. I just need to know that's what it is and that's what's happening, and just accept it. And that's what a lot of people struggle with, is trying to force life, and I don't want to do that anymore. I don't want to force things. If I have to force it, then it's probably not going to work out anyway. But speaking of, like, you're just a drug addict, like, that stigma is another thing, like, I want to get across. Like, there are bad people in this world, regardless if they're using drugs or not. And you know, but from what I found, most drug addicts that I've met are just fundamentally good people. They're just don't maladjusted to life. Like they don't know how to handle situations or feelings. You know, so that we use drugs, that doesn't necessarily make us a bad person. You know, some of the things we did were not right. They were, I wouldn't say bad, but they were wrong. You know, if you're hurting other people, I hate the word bad. You know, you know, because life is life, regardless. You know, but hurting other people is wrong. You know, hurting yourself is wrong. You know, not being grateful for the life you're given, I think, is also wrong. It doesn't make you wrong. It just, like, you know, it's something I have to learn, you know, to be grateful all the time. But not all the time, but just grateful in general. But just because you put a substance in your body and you can't stop does not make you a bad person. Right. You know? And then I think a lot of people have that stigma, like, oh, they do drugs, there must be something morally wrong with them. Yeah. Or something wrong with their will. Why can't you just stop? It's not how it works. Like, from what I've learned, like, we're just, our chemical makeup is just different, you know? I don't know. I wish, if I could snap my fingers and not be a drug addict and be able to drink like a normal human being, I probably would not change it, because I've learned a lot. And I don't know if I would have learned nearly as much not being a drug addict. If I'll never know, but that's just what I believe. But, you know, it's something I come to accept. You know, I'm an alcoholic and I'm a drug addict, and I can't drink or use drug. Well, I've never met anybody who can do heroin like a normal human being. So,
I don't know if that exists, to be honest.
But I can't, you know, I can't drink like a normal human being, and I grown to accept that. Like, I'm okay with that. That's not the drug addict part, you know, or the addict part. That's the substance part. The part I'm trying to learn about is, who am I? Why do I do what I do? Why do I think what I think? And how do I do it better? How do I make my life better by helping other people? You know, and fundamentally, that's what it is I help other people, I feel better about me. You know? And just not hurting anybody, you know. I don't necessarily have to help everybody, but I don't have to hurt anybody either, you know. It's
true.
So then that's also good.
And you're more equipped to help people who are going through struggles like this than any kind of average person, because you have an insight.
I can definitely relate to people that are going through things like this. I don't know if I can necessarily help.
Well,
all of, you know, I can tell my story, and if that helps them, fantastic. I'll never know.
Yeah.
To be quite honest with you. Yeah, like, true. You don't know what people hear and what people don't. Like, there's things I've said tonight, like, I'm like, oh, maybe a lot of people will relate to this. Maybe nobody's going to hear that part of it, but maybe they'll hear something about something else. So you never know what can actually help somebody. Just being present and being available is the best I can do.
Yeah, and I mean, we have heard people from other recordings say that people who have been through it, who know the experience, it's much easier to open up to them, or to at least relate in that aspect. Yeah. So there is a helpful aspect in that. I mean, an experience.
And like you said earlier, you know, like, I can tell you about something, but until you've experienced it, it's very hard to understand, you know? And so I think even, like you said, the combination of those things, like being present and having that basis of understanding, like when somebody who's going through it, like, speaks to somebody like that, I mean, at the very bottom, like at the very bottom level, at least, like, you feel understood. Yeah. And I think that's kind of soothing, you know, or at least somewhat comforting, you know, to at least know that, like, you're not being judged, and because they understand where you're coming from. Yeah. You know?
Yeah, I mean, anybody that I've never met that has the same affliction as I do, it's, for me, it's very easy. They're very easy to talk to, you know, because it's very relatable, even though it may not be the same exact story, it may not be the same exact drug of choice, but it is the same feeling that got us in that same place, you know, that hopelessness, that, you know, self-pity, that just, I was in a place where, you know, I didn't want to die, but I didn't want to live. You know, it's also a catch-22. I just was existing, you know. And I tell you what, I did not get into recovery because my life was going great. So so if you're in a rehab facility, or, you know, you're just starting out in recovery, just know that I've been there, dude. I've done it, and it's not always easy. A lot of the times it's not easy, but it does get better.
And here you are.
Yeah.
You know?
Oh, yeah. Almost 2 years later.
Yeah. I mean, you're still going through life. You're still figuring stuff out, but.
And I will always I think I will always be learning if I allow myself to be teachable.
Right.
You know, I can shut myself off and I got it good enough. We're good to go. And that's when I start backsliding. And that's when I start going back to the old behavior. You know, I am the center of my universe, and you all should know who I am. You know, like I said before, like I might not be that big of a deal, but I'm all I think about.
Right. How much of that, Rick, of the stuff you learned in recovery so far, do you use, not necessarily inside of a recovery context, but just throughout life in general?
All my life,
a lot of
everything
it,
in my life is the tools that I've been taught in recovery. Like even we were talking about maybe not so much recovery related situations like tonight, but everything that I said had some recovery base in it, like learning to love somebody else or learning to accept somebody else for who they are, stuff like that. That's all recovery. That's not my natural behavior. My natural behavior is to, if you're not like me, leave me alone. If you don't have something I want, leave me alone. You know. But to learn how to love somebody else and myself and be okay with where I'm at and who I am is recovery. That's what it is. You know. Yeah. That's 100% what it is. It's not not using or not drinking. That's just a byproduct. Right? Because you'll get into recovery, and we were talking about it before. You want to learn how to not drink or use, but pretty soon you just want to learn how to be a good person. And that not drinking or not using is just, you know, a byproduct of the situation of learning to be a better human being.
Right.
More spiritual person, whatever you want to call it. I'm not a religious person. I'm spiritual, believe in God or something, you know, whatever's out there. I don't believe anybody knows what it is, but it just makes sense for there's something to be out there. Yeah. So, yep. The best person I can be is what I strive for, and on any given day. Some days I forget, you know, and some days I get into my old, and you know, it's about me. But most days not.
Yeah. That's cool.
Yeah. I think so. Live a good life. That's it, you know?
Yeah.
And even when times are bad, it's how to be okay when times are bad, how to cope, you know, and when times are good, it's how to be grateful and appreciate those times, you know, and not just look for that next best thing, that next best time, you know. I've done that all my life, you know. Yeah. I can't remember a time before recovery where I was content to be where I was at.
Right.
You know what I mean? I was always trying to get to the next place.
And then as soon as you reach that next peak,
just
if you don't reach it every time for the next ever, it's just not enough.
Yeah.
Right. You know, that's the new standard.
It's just like that package I was talking about. You get that package, or you get to that place, wonder what's going to happen in this place, and then you see, and it's just a thing. It's just something, you know. And you let your expectation of something is not the standard. It doesn't live up to that, and it's just like, okay, on to the next thing, you know.
Right.
Like the box. You open up the box, it's a thing. Okay, cool. Now it's a thing in my house. Thing I have to move around and deal with.
Right.
You know, but it's always that unknown. It's always that new thing that gives you the excitement and
Dude, that's so funny. Like off the record, you just like part of conversation. You know, like I was just thinking about that the other day too, with like the biggest things, man. You know, like you could get like, because I just moved in, you know, and I have a new roommate, and like we haven't known each other super long, you know, like maybe 5-6 months, and like just kind of worked out that like this was going to be the best situation for both of us, like, and so. You know, I was in my room my new room the other day, and I was like new, obviously, and I was like, man, it's like and I was walking around the house, you know, I was like, man, I like live here.
Yeah.
You know, like that's pretty crazy. Like I actually live here. Like I'm not going home today. You know, I'm not going back to the apartment. But like, and then I thought to myself, man, this is gonna be so normal in like 3 weeks. You know, and like it's like a new living space. You know, like. I mean, it's not my house, obviously, but like it's a new living space. I think about it, like the one that comes to mind for me always is like new cars. Yeah. You know, people are so psyched to get a new car. You know, like you get the Instagram post, you may even get some follow-up stories for like the next 2-3 days, you know? But then like, I've never seen someone a year later be like, take a picture of their car or like stand next to their car and like, unless they're real car guys, you know, or girls, and being like,
check out my Euro car.
yeah. Man, I'm still so in love with my 2011 Buick Century. You know, like, be like, thank you, and then re-tag the guy who sold it. You know, all the things that you do every time.
You know, not so good part about that is when you're in that moment and you have that thought, like, this is just going to be normal in 3 weeks or whatever, you actually take away the joy that you have.
Right, yeah.
You know? And that's how my brain works too, you know.
You just rob yourself of it.
Right.
Yeah. Yeah.
I do have to have that conversation with that myself sometimes. Just like little statements like, dude, will you just like enjoy this for a moment, please? Like
that thing, like that unworthiness of happiness, like, is it really that good? And like, are you really that happy? Or you're going to be sad later? I'm like, dude, just shut up and leave me alone.
Just let me enjoy it.
Yeah, I got going on here. Like, don't ruin it.
Yeah.
You know?
Definitely. That's yeah, dude. That's super funny.
Yeah,
I think about that stuff a lot.
That's
too.
just my that's my addict, mind. That's my addict voice, kind of just creeping in wherever it can.
Right.
And if I let it run over, like that'll be me. Yeah. That'll be the only thoughts I ever have. You know. Yeah. So it's weird. I have a couple of different voices in my head because I'm crazy. But I got that positive mindset that recovery has learned. What the solutions are, and I still have that negative addict, mindset, behavior, and thoughts. You're not good enough. You'll never live up to, you'll never have. And the positive side is, be grateful, be present, and be loving, be accepting. So that's what I struggle with. That's my life today.
Yeah, dude, me too, man. I feel like a lot of that same stuff is some of the same stuff I struggle with, like that, because I think there's like a balance, right? And like I think the struggle for me too is finding that balance of like, because I think sometimes those thoughts, like, not that like this is gonna be so, like, are always, like you said, like there's two sides to that, right? Like knowing, like, and understanding the impermanence of things in order to like appreciate the moment that you're in, like, and like be cognizant of like your appreciation for that moment is a good thing. But then to be like dwell on that for more than like, I don't know, man, like a thought or two, it does, I think, get damaging, to where you're like almost just self-defeating, and like you start to get sad that like this isn't gonna last forever.
I think gratefulness for me is not so much a thought, but it is a feeling. Like it's a feeling of just being content with the spot that I'm in. Right. You know what I mean? It's like, everything's okay. Like everything's good. Just that feeling. It's not like I'm grateful for this new rims on my car. I'm grateful for. No, it's like I go home and everything's just okay. Like my family's okay. Right. Everything just seems where it's supposed to be. That's the gratefulness feeling that I like. Yeah. Just being okay in that time, in that moment. That's complete gratefulness for me, content. Right.
And you look around at people who are famous or whatever, and you think that they have that because they have so much stuff.
Stuff does not. Stuff. No, I would much I'd much rather have mental and emotional security than anything physical. Like, money does. It was a big deal to me before, 'cause, like I needed to buy stuff like drugs. Right. But today it's like, money. Yeah, I needed to pay my bills and buy gas and food and whatnot. But it's not. It's just another thing in life.
It's a tool.
Yeah, that's it. That's all it is. Yeah. And to tell you the truth, before, when I saw money, I didn't see money. I saw pre-drugs, like a certificate for drugs. Like, that was drugs waiting to happen. Right. It wasn't, I got $100. No, it's, I got a half gram. Yeah. Or, I got $1,000. That's, I'm good for a week. Right. Not really. Probably like 5 days, 5 days, something like that.
It's interesting, like the time. You even see it as a section of time. It's like, this money is 3 days of
I can calculate
my lifestyle.
I can or like when I would go to the doctor and get a bottle of pills, I'd be like, all right, I'm good for at least 2 weeks. I wouldn't say I'm not going to feel pain for 2 weeks. I'm just like, I'm not going to get sick, and I'm going to probably, be out of consciousness for a solid 2 weeks.
Yeah, that was goals.
Yeah. Oh yeah, dude. I paid a lot of money to get that way. Right.
But even going back to the, like, once you having that satisfaction rather than trying to achieve something super lofty, in the sense, it just remind me of this image that I saw of like Koebryn after he had won his 5th championship or whatever, and he's holding the trophy and he's just sitting there and he just looks defeated, like he just looks empty, just drained. And I think people, once you achieve something that you've been striving for so long, you get attacked by these unexpected feelings of emptiness.
Yeah.
Did that ever happen in recovery where you're like, okay, I'm finally over this? Not in the sense that you're completely over it, but like,
Yes.
I've been doing this so long, I got it. Now what?
I'm
like,
sure you've heard of the pink cloud, right?
I
Have
don't
you
know
heard
if
of that?
I
The
have.
pink cloud?
No, I don't think I have.
Well, the pink cloud it's early recovery stuff. It's like you get in early recovery, you know, you're not doing drugs anymore, you're starting to get more healthy, you're starting to feel better, and your brain is telling you everything's gonna be. I'm not using drugs anymore. I'm a good person now, or whatever. Everything's gonna be fine. And then reality kind of hits, you know, like you lose that pink cloud, and life happens, and then I think that's where a lot of people drop off. Is because it's a real thing. It's like a real mindset. Like your mind isn't everything's great. You know, nothing bad is ever gonna happen because I'm clean and sober. And then once you realize that, I think that's where it makes or breaks somebody. Is like, can you get past that spot, you know, without using to cope,
Right.
and like learn new coping skills and behaviors, and like that saying, "This too shall pass." Can you get past that? And because that's not going to happen just once. It didn't happen just once for me. It happened. Like I got into that pink cloud mindset again, and it happened again. You know, it's okay though. Like it's just a part of the growth of recovery for me, specifically. But it may happen to you.
Yeah.
But once you can get past that, and you know, you're kind of let down because you're not going to be rich and you're probably not going to be rich and famous. You know,
Right.
You're probably not going to be like some sort of super actor or whatever. You know, just be the center of everybody's attention. And once you come to the realization, like life still happens, even though you're clean,
Right.
and you can get past that part, you're going to be okay. I 100% like believe that you're going to be okay. You know, once you can accept life on life's terms. You know?
Yeah, and see, that was an interesting thing, that the illusion of having everything under control was actually like super destructive.
It is. I don't want to go through that ever again.
But being comfortable in the chaos of life,
Yeah.
that's where satisfaction is.
Yeah, no, it's not even just being comfortable with the chaos. It's accepting the chaos and still being able to do life. You know.
Right.
Oh yeah,
Function
still
within it.
still
Yeah.
keeping
Yeah.
through.
Just stay on that path, regardless of what hits you. You know.
Mm-hmm.
Because believe it or not, and I'm sure you guys know, even when life's going great, bad things still can happen. You know what I mean? And that will always happen, regardless of how big they are. It might be earth-shattering stuff for you, or it might be as little as your car got stuck this morning.
Right.
Things are gonna happen, and it's like, can we be okay in that moment? Can we be accepting in that moment? Can we not fly off the handle and, you know, throw a wrench through my window because my right tire got stuck in the ditch?
Right.
You know,
Yeah.
just make things worse. So that's you know, that's another part of recovery, is just being. I don't know. I keep saying the same thing over it, but I can't iterate that enough. Is being okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You know, with situations and outcomes. There's going to be great stuff, you know, and there's going to be some not so great stuff. There's going to be a lot of challenging stuff.
Right.
But in all reality, it's still things, and you still can move through it, or you can just take a left and go back out and use drugs. Nobody's stopping you.
Right.
You know? But I guarantee if you stick around, like, you know, if you keep doing the right thing, if you keep on that path, you're going to be happier than you've ever been in your life.
Yeah.
You know, it's fair trade, I think.
Yeah, definitely.
So,
Yeah, no, it's cool.
It's so funny that it's the duality of it, right? Is that you're having a good time, and your brain zooms out your perspective and says, well, eventually you're gonna feel bad.
yeah.
Right? But then you go through a bad time, and your brain doesn't zoom out and say, it's gonna be good.
Yeah.
You're like, yeah.
What's up with that?
I have to tell myself that. I have
Yeah.
to tell myself this will pass.
Right?
But yeah, but when it's good, like you were saying, like that, there's always that thought, like, oh, it's gonna end, you know, it's gonna be bad sometime. Like, okay, why can't you just naturally say that opposite?
Can we
you
just
know?
switch that?
Yeah.
Yeah.
But no, you gotta retrain the whole thing.
Yeah. Yeah, that's what makes me crazy, man. That's what makes me crazy. That's how I know I'm still sick. So.
Like I was talking about before, you know, that's kind of the cool part about these 1 year laters is you get to feel that.
Yeah.
You know, like, because the conversation isn't like about specifically necessarily meetings, or like it's not about like solely recovery, because recovery has permeated so much into life,
Listen, I'll tell you, I'll give you the instructions of recovery off the bat. This is what you need to do if you're new. Find a sponsor, work the steps, go to meetings, get into service work, and, pray. Mm-hmm. Because praying won't put you in a worse position than you are in.
Right.
And then by doing this, you will grow as a human being, and then you will learn, like, the aspects, the tools that they give you, the stuff the 12 steps is trying to teach you, and you'll learn that in your everyday. You'll take it over, and it'll go into, like, just having this conversation. I've used so many tools of my recovery and having a conversation with a person, not trying to make it all about me.
Right.
And so it's weird. It just kind of leaches over into all aspects of your life, even things you didn't think it would.
Right.
So
yeah.
Pretty soon it's like something that you're consciously doing, and then it'll just be something that's just part of your life. Mm-hmm. So get to that point and you'll be all right.
It becomes a habit, more or less.
Not even a habit. It's just it's so ingrained in me today. That's just who I am.
Oh, okay,
I usually,
yeah.
Sometimes I need to consciously what's it say to do in this situation?
Yeah.
But most times it's just kind of like ingrained in me not to do something a certain way, to not lash out or to not blow things up or or not be selfish, and don't lie even though it's not a big lie. It's a white lie. Nobody's really gonna get hurt. Like, at work we have a soda thing there. You open up the fridge. I'm like, well, if I took one of these, nobody would know. That's my addict thinking. I'm like, well, I would know.
Right.
Yeah. And I'm not gonna start off because it's a slippery slope. I start doing that.
Yeah.
Maybe I start taking other tools. And I did not do these things. It's just things that go on in my head.
Yeah.
So
Right.
I don't want to act on them because I don't want them to become part of my life again.
Yeah. I have those thoughts a lot too, to be honest. Like,
I think everybody does.
right.
I'm sure everybody has even more horrible things that your brain just comes up with, and you're like, "Whoa, brain! Like, chill."
Yeah.
That was dark.
Yeah.
No,
yeah. Dude, I have some weird, intrusive, dark thoughts sometimes, and it's just like, I don't want you here. Like, you were not invited. How did you get in?
Yeah.
Like, were you carted at the door?
Right. Yeah,
Oh,
dude.
man.
I think I've told this before. I always get that, dude, when I see people open their wallets and they keep more money than I think they should keep in their wallets. I'm always like,
Oh yeah.
I'm like, man, I should steal
Somebody
that.
needs to teach you to be responsible.
Yeah, honestly, though.
Or they have a lot of money. I don't think they need all of that.
Right. Yeah. I probably need it more than them.
Yeah. Oh, dude, I did that a lot in my addiction. Like, I would steal stuff and be like, "Ooh," like, I'd make excuses. I'd lie to myself and be like, well, it's a big corporation. It's not like a mom and pop shop.
Right.
Or like I'd steal some tires or something off somebody's front lawn and be like, well, they're just sitting there. They obviously didn't need them, and I needed them more. If they needed them, they wouldn't have left them there.
Yeah. They'd be on the car if they really needed them.
Yeah. So that's that addict thinking, like just manipulating even yourself.
Yeah.
Right.
That's
Oh my gosh.
that's the crazy part of it, like how you could lie to yourself and believe it.
And then if you bounce it off someone else, which is why I think it's great to have a sponsor, they're just like, what?
Exactly. You can always.
None of that makes sense.
Yeah.
I think you can always see better from the outside perspective.
Oh man.
Always.
All your
Oh, yeah.
biases aren't there if it's not
Like
you.
Like I was saying earlier, like anything I've ever been through, like I've been like, oh, what should I do here? And had to call and ask somebody. If they would have called and asked me the same thing, I'd be like, dude, really? Come on, dude. We know the answer here.
And you just don't want to hear the answer.
No.
You even know the answer.
No.
But you're
Well,
just
I
like,
mean, sometimes it feels good to, sit in that, sometimes, you don't want to know. You don't want to be,
oh, I don't know.
your ego will take a hit, like, oh, I was wrong, Or, it sometimes it feels good, but other times, like, in those moments, I know, like, I still have good ideas, so I'm still crazy.
Right.
Some of my best ideas are some of the ones that can get me in the most trouble, So, even though I'll tell myself I'm doing it for the right reasons.
Yeah.
Yeah, you make that justification, and that's another slippery slope. Like, well, this makes it so that this is okay.
Yeah. So I come to find out, like, in big decisions like that, like, if I'm in that equation at all, like if I'm benefiting in that equation or if something's going to go better for me, I really need to take a look at it. Because it's like, that's my ego, it's my ego, and it's my, my jealousy maybe, or like, you know, my ego mainly, like telling me I need this, or I want this, or I should have this, or I need it more.
Yeah.
I really need to take a look at that, and then I need to call somebody and ask them about it.
Right.
You know, so
See the kind of those warning signs.
yeah,
Just like, I think I'm lying to myself here.
yeah. It's not. It's weird how it works though. It's not even like I think I'm lying to myself. It's like I know I'm lying to myself, but I'm also like fighting it with the other side. Like, but this, you know, this will make it better. Like this is why you're doing it, and then I'm like, nah, that's not why I'm really doing it. Like,
Oh, man.
Like my brain's like, no, that's why I'm not really doing it. But let's just keep going with that. You know?
Right, yeah,
That's
yeah.
when I pick up the phone.
Give me 10 minutes alone with myself, and I will convince me of anything.
Oh, dude, it doesn't even take 10 minutes. Give me 30 seconds to let's go.
Right.
But hey, thankfully, I have long enough to think about it. Like, you know, driving down the road or whatever, and I'm like, okay, check my motives. What am I really doing this for? And if there's even a hint of like self come up on this, or like, you know, or anything like that, like any self motivated behavior, then I need to call. I need to call somebody and say, hey, what do you think? What do you think about this perspective? Like, what's your perspective on this situation?
Right.
That keeps me out of trouble.
Yeah, can you imagine, like, even in a not even in the addiction realm, but just if people could do that, if they had someone that they trusted enough that they went through a major life choice and could just call someone and be like, does this make sense?
Most people don't. They're
right.
you know, they live mostly on self-reliance. Like, you know, they think they know themselves so well, they know the right answer all the time.
Right.
And so even if you're not a drug addict or, you know, an alcoholic, one and the same basically. I recommend getting an outside opinion on anything.
Right.
Not anything, but like big things, you know.
Yeah.
You know, things you're uncertain of. You know, just talk to somebody else about it, and talk to somebody that's not going to co-sign your.
Right.
You know, that's a great idea, dude. Do that. You know, talk to somebody like you know, you look up to and that won't. You like an aunt, an uncle, you know, or a father, you know, a best friend that's never steered you wrong, like you and Aaron. You know, hey Aaron, I'm thinking about doing this, but dude, no. Yeah, it's weird. Like, it's weird how like the light kind of switches on when that happens. Like when it's like, hey, this is not good, and you're like, yeah, you're right.
I kind of knew that, but
Right. Yeah, I was just talking to my new roommate about that actually. Like, you know, like I don't know how the conversation got on, but he was kind of explaining to me like his way of thinking about it. You know, is there's like 3 types of friends. You know, and it's like it's not always bad to have all 3, and like if you can have all 3, but there's certainly like some more ideal options. You know, there's the guide. You know, the guy who's gonna kind of, you know, tell you how it is regardless of how you feel. You know, and he may not say like, dude, like that's the dumbest thing I've ever heard. But he may say, you know, man, here's kind of what I think about that, and like here's kind of maybe a different option, you know, or we can talk about options, you know. And then there's like the hype man, like your guy you're talking about, you know, someone who's just like, oh yeah, man, that sounds sick, yeah, do whatever you want, dude, it's gonna be awesome, man. If you need any help, let me know, you know, like, be around that guy, and then, you know, and then there's the like, there's like the the yes man, the guide. Those are the 2 I really focused on, and now I feel bad because I can't remember the third guy.
And then you got the fair weather.
That might have been it. I think that was the guy.
When things get rough, goodbye.
Yeah.
That's all I had in my life for a long time, except for one guy.
Yeah.
One guy stuck around me through thick and thin, so I appreciate him for that. And he's kind of the co-signer, but also the guide too. Like we think differently about certain things, you know. And I'm, you know, trying to be his, you know, that not the hype man, but like the friend, but also the like, hey, this is what I think about this situation, you know.
Yeah.
Because I find myself and still trying to be, you know, liked and not trying to make waves. I won't say stuff like that, but I'm like, am I really being a friend here, or am I just being around? You know, like if this came up, am I responsible because I didn't say anything? Which no, not really, but like because he's my best friend, I find my responsibility, if he asks or if I ask, hey, do you want to hear what I think about this? To tell him and be honest about it. You know, if I disagree with it, I'm gonna tell him. You know, I'm not that guy that's like, I used to be that guy that's like, yeah, dude, do that, bro. What? Yeah.
It sounds sick.
Yeah, dude. I mean, as long as you like me, that's the thing to do.
Right.
Yeah. You can make that jump.
Mm-hmm.
Promise, yeah.
Yeah.
You can do
Oh,
it.
yeah, dude. Yeah.
It's like, that's a cliff, though.
Right.
Oh, man.
Yeah, no, this comes back to that question, you know, or not back to that question, but it kind of comes to the question, like, what's it mean to be a good friend, you know? Like that's kind of, I know that's a loaded question, right? That's a pretty big one.
I can tell you my perspective on it.
Yeah.
Just being honest.
Yeah.
Being honest in what your morals are. You know?
Yeah.
What you think. If he does something I'm not, like, I disagree with, I'm not going to be like, oh, you're not my friend anymore.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
I just disagree with it. Like, you live your own life. It's none of my business what you do. However, like, if you ask me, I'm going to tell you what I think about it. If you get mad at me, that's one thing. You know,
Right.
That's fine. Like, get over it. But I'd rather be that friend that's going to tell you the truth than be that fair weather friend that when you get in your I'm gone. Or, like, you end up doing something because I didn't say anything and you get hurt or, you know, or whatever. Then I feel responsible because I should have said something when you asked, you know, instead of just going, yeah, dude, do that. You know?
And if it does go south, you have, for next time, they trust you.
Yeah.
Because they know that you said something
Yeah.
and it didn't go well. Maybe they were mad at you, but they know that you'll give it to them straight. And that's invaluable to have someone to actually reflect off of.
You know, I try and be honest but also compassionate at the
Right.
same time. I don't want to be, they're saying it's honesty without compassion is brutality.
Right.
You know, I don't want to be a dick, but I'll tell you how I feel about the situation.
Yeah.
Definitely. Yeah, I think there's a balance to be struck there, you know, between, like, being direct and being compassionate, you know, but in a way that, like, it's not, you're pretty clear to them about, like, how you feel about it, but without kind of just being an asshole, you know?
That situation when I was talking to you about earlier, like, that was a fair weather friend, that was a hype man, you know?
Right.
I was like, this is my boss, I'm trying to make him my friend, let me do this, and, like, hype him, you know, and I'll get something out of it, but sitting with myself, I'm thinking about it, and I feel uncomfortable about it, and just I don't feel good about it. And then to call somebody and get their opinion, and then to talk to him about it, and tell him my honest opinion about it, makes me feel better, even though I might not get the outcome I wanted. It's still, you know, better than the alternative, which is like, yeah, go do that, and when, you know, continually doing that thing, yeah, do that, or I'll do this for you. You know, it's going against my morals. Pretty soon, I'm going to run into a roadblock. Something bad's going to happen. You know, it always does.
It's true.
Well, TJ, thanks for coming out and talking to us today, man. This was a very natural, fluid, and fun conversation. I'm glad we got to do this. If you guys haven't heard TJ's first podcast yet, we released that, like we talked about earlier, September 24th of 2019. Search You and I for the Kenai anywhere you listen to podcasts. Scroll down, find that for a little more contextual information, and plus that's full of good stuff as well. Also, if you are somebody out there who may be looking for services or looking to get help, the intake office for Serenity House is at 245 North Binkley Street. It's upstairs. Just go right up the stairs and it'll be on your left-hand side. Also, if you want more information about other services, if you don't feel like Serenity House may be the place for you, if you want to look in and learn about other services, you can also reference our podcasts about the other services that we've mentioned before. Cicada, ASAP Aquila. If mental health services are what you feel if you need right now, you can always reach out to Hope Men's. We've done one with them. Many of these other sources that would know more information than we might as well. Love Inc., some of these other places, Change for the Kenai. Yeah, but if you are someone who fits that bill right now, there is hope. There is places in this community for you to live that better life. Thank you very much for listening. This was You and I for the Kenai.